with the blues, and then they really started drifting more into it. You know, it just seems like you guys are getting more and more bluesy as you go along. Is that how you're feeling, you know, when you're listening to your own music?
You know, it's interesting that you think it's got more bluesy with this record, because if anything, we tried hard not to kind of fall into any of the trappings of just kind of, you know, rehashing 12-bar patterns and stuff like that. We tried to steer well clear of that, but at the same time, you know, the blues is a massive part of the foundation of our sound, and I think, you know, it doesn't matter what approach we take in the studio, it's always going to come through like that. But you know, I definitely would agree that with every album we put out, there's a development there, because we're constantly challenging ourselves to do better than the one before. You know, we've never been a band to make the same record twice, and you know, we like to keep each other on our toes, and you know, hopefully that kind of takes us out of our comfort zone every time we head into the studio, and helps to maintain the band's edge.
Sure. Now, by stepping out of your comfort zone, though, does it? And I'm always curious about this, just as a fan. You know, does it leave you, you know, almost questioning what you've come up with at the end of the day? You know, because you do create stuff that does sound different from record to record. Before people hear it, do you go, "Oh man, I hope to God people like this"?
I suppose you always hope that people are going to like the music that you make, but. You know, for this record especially, man, this was the first record, believe it or not, that we sat down with our producer before we started really writing the songs and had a conversation about the kind of record we wanted to make. You know, in the past, what we do is we get into our rehearsal space in Belfast and we just start writing, and within 3 or 4 months we've got about 40 songs there, and we just pick the 15 best songs and bring them into the studio, and there's no real attempt at coherence. It's just kind of like song for song. If it sounds good, it's getting recorded, you know. On this record, we kind of stuck to a game plan, so it was easier to leave songs behind, but also easier to focus on achieving what you want to achieve with the 12 tracks that we brought into the studio this time round.
Sure. And songs for me, like Leavin' With Nothing is probably my favorite on the record. And with that song, it very much feels like you captured the old school stuff, but it is very different than literally anything in your catalog.
Yeah, the bass line in that song's recently been compared to Michael Jackson, Black or White.
Right.
So you know, there's obviously there's a slightly different vibe going on there. Having never had a Michael Jackson comparison before, but you know, yeah, that's one of the tracks that definitely just came together quite organically in the practice room. You know, started with the riff that opens the song, and we kind of built a song around that, which is kind of the way we've always done things. You know, that the way we write songs, they kind of develop from a jam, or else, you know, one of the band members comes in with a verse and chorus, and we'll take it from there. But that one definitely, it just felt very natural, and yeah, definitely captured the power of the answer.
Right. Well, Cormac, for most of the world, I would imagine, and certainly the United States, the big mark that people associate you to is that you guys got what I would have to say is one of the most coveted opening slots ever, opening for AC/DC on the Black Ice tour. You know, what did you guys learn from that trek, you know, that made you a better band? And, you know, because obviously watching AC/DC night after night, musically that's one thing, but watching how those guys work, I mean, they're as professional and as big as it gets. So what did you learn from them as you made your way, you know, around the country?
Well, yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. Whenever you're talking about the professional nature of that band and the tour, you know, just to watch those guys, how they conduct themselves, you know, day by day, and getting up there and playing for 2 hours every night in front of anything from 10,000 to 100,000 people. It just kind of blows your mind at the beginning, and you have to catch yourself on, and the respect that, you can't. We were getting up on stage for the first couple of nights, just wide-eyed and wondering what we did to deserve to be here. And after the first couple of gigs, we kind of looked at each other and were saying, "Boys, we can't let this opportunity pass us by. With starry eyes. We really need to get to grips with it all, and we needed to do it at a very early stage. So you did. You learned from the guys that were coming on after you, and I think we came off the back of that tour a lot more. I suppose we grew up over that year and a half. As a band, we learned how to conduct ourselves over a long, grueling tour that it was. I mean, I loved every second of it, but there has to be a certain discipline there to ensure that you're getting up every night and giving it everything you've got, especially if you're playing in front of, a giant stadium full of people.
Sure. Now, and I have to imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I have to imagine that almost every night, at least for the first 6 months of the tour, until the name got out there a little bit and people saw a video on YouTube or something, it had to be really tough getting up in front of their fans, because not that their fans are nasty or not, they're certainly fun fans, but they are about as loyal as any can be, and they really just want to see AC/DC, no?
Yeah, they definitely, you had to get up there and, fight for attention, because we are so loyal. And I mean, I would be the same. I'm a lifelong AC/DC fan myself. And if I went down having not seen my favorite band in whatever number of years it was, you'd be kind of, unless the support band were really good, you'd have a tendency to kind of be sitting there kind of, let's get on with it here till we get to the main event. So, right. I mean, I was well aware of that, and obviously it was down to us to really get up there and give it everything we got. But, I was very happy with the response we got from the AC/DC fans. I think we made a lot of new friends in that tour, and, they definitely gave us respect, and, they get into our tunes, and I've heard some horror stories about bands in the past, really good bands, Slash's Snake Pit and King's X, and top quality rock and roll bands getting booed off stage or getting, just not connecting at all. So, we feel that we did ourselves justice up there.
Excellent. Well, Cormac, on the new album, New Horizon, one of the things that jumps out even before you listen to the album is the cover art, which was done by the late Storm Thorgerson, who is most famous for obviously working with Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin. How did you guys end up getting a piece of his art for your cover?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I'd have to say we were very privileged to have a man of his stature and genius work on our own album. It was a bit of a dream come true, and it's something it's one of these, it's like getting on tour with AC/DC, it's one of these pipe dreams that you never think ever is going to become a reality. But basically it was our record label's idea after a conversation we had in the studio about how we didn't want the artwork on this record just to fall into that generic trap of rock and roll and just look like any other rock record. We wanted to make a statement that there's something more to this, and there's something more to the band than just kind of, again, rehashing old ground. And we came to the decision that if Storm could design the cover, then that would be the perfect statement. And sure enough, we got in touch and sent him the record, albeit unmixed at the time, unmastered at the time, not really properly mixed, but he loved it, and he only obviously ever worked on a project that he was passionate about, and he agreed to it. And with hindsight, we had no idea he was sick at the time, and to take on a project of that magnitude while being obviously quite ill is a real testimony to the man's genuine hunger and passion for what he does.
Sure. And I mean, for you guys, I mean, this quite possibly could be the last piece of, the last major piece of artwork the guy ever did.
Yeah, I think it actually is, and it's crazy whenever you put it like that. but as I say, you know, we just feel honoured that he agreed to work on the project at all, and he just, I mean, man, did he deliver. The birdcage man image on the front of our record, it's iconic, and it just is, it's the icing on the cake. It's like, you know, you think all those great Pink Floyd records. I mean, whenever I think of Pink Floyd, the first thing that pops into my head isn't the music, it's the pig floating above Battersea Power Station in London, you know.
Right.
And I mean, he's been contributing to popular culture for the last 45 years, and that we can join that elite group of bands and artists that Storm has attached his work to. It's just, as I say, it's a dream come true.
Absolutely. Well, Cormac, you know, one big change for you guys this time is that you did change labels, I believe, didn't you? You switched from Spine Farm to Napalm this time. What caused the change, I guess, and what does Napalm bring to the table, you know, that you guys see as a you know, a step forward?
Yeah, you know, it's all kind of wrapped up in this notion of a new horizon, that the album attempts to portray. You know, we got to the end of the touring cycle for the last record, the Revival tour, and we kind of felt, for the first time in the band's history, that we were treading water a little bit. Okay. You know, we've been together for over 10 years now, believe it or not, and it's always been about progress. It's always been about step after step making our way up that ladder, and you know, we felt that we've hit a kind of a plateau and we needed to make some changes. So you know, we parted ways with Spine Farm, and as luck would have it, and it's often the case whenever you set these things in motion, literally 2 weeks later we got a phone call from Napalm Records saying, you know, we've been wanting to sign you guys for a while. What's your current situation? We obviously didn't know anything about having parted ways with our last record company, and we says, well, you know, as luck would have it,
right,
why don't you come over to Belfast and we'll have a chat. And you know, they sent their A&R man over, and he laid out this very attractive game plan, and as is not always the case with A&R men, we actually believed what he was saying.
Okay.
And it felt right, you know, and we embarked upon the next chapter with a very motivated team, it must be said, at the helm. And you know, to have a bunch of people with a great network on a global scale working your record, that's priceless.
Sure. Now, one thing that I do know, and clearly even from your last answer, you know, is very apparent, is that you guys have paid your dues. You know, you guys are a business as much as you are a band. I mean, certainly you do the band to make the music and whatnot, but it definitely sounds like you've put in not only the business acumen to it that you have to, but the time and the hours and the touring and everything that is required to grow a band. When you look at that and then you see, you know, artists getting immediate, you know, recognition from like American Idol or The Voice or any of these TV shows without paying their dues, you know, does that bother you as an artist, or do you just not pay attention at all, or what?
You know, I don't think you can really pay attention to that side of the industry. If you did, I think you could let it eat you up from the inside out, you know, but there wouldn't be any sense in that at all. You know, I never begrudge an artist's success, no matter whether they come from the X Factor or they've been working like ourselves for the last 10 years, you know, striving to realise our potential. You know, we're a band that we're comfortable in our own skin, and we've got that kind of Northern Irish work ethic, where you know, it doesn't matter what kind of success we've been enjoying right now, we'd still be working very hard at what we do, and you know, that's what we intend to. That's the principles we intend to continue to believe in. You know.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, Cormac, the new album, as we said, is called New Horizon. The band is called The Answer. Before I let you go, what am I missing that you want people to know about the record?
Well, you know, if you like hard rock and roll with a lot of soul, a lot of emotion, a lot of intensity, and a lot of attitude, then our new record is the one for you. We're we're heading over. Actually, myself and our guitar player Paul are coming over to New York to do a bit of promo at the end of the month.
Okay.
With the notion that a tour will follow early next year. So, we feel we've been away from the States for far too long. We're looking forward to getting back there and playing our music for all the good people that want to come down and check us out.
Excellent. Well, Cormac, before I let you go, I have to ask you what is known as the traditional classic metal show question. We have asked this to literally 1,000 bands now over the last 18 years. And as a singer, I'm sure you'll have an answer. And as a rock guy, I'm definitely sure you'll have some answer. How has Lemmy from Motorhead influenced your career?
On a personal level, I met Lemmy the first ever rock festival we played, called Download in the UK, what used to be Donington.
Mm-hmm.
And I went over and had a beer with him, and he just he was just a cool guy. It was my first experience of actual real life contact with a rock star.
Right.
And I think he infused in me this notion that you don't need to overact it out. Just be who you are, and that's the way to conduct yourself in the music industry and in the wider world. And I think I've stuck to that ever since. So I have Lemmy to thank for that.
Cool, man. Well, man, as a tradition on the show, we always let the artist pick a closing track from their new album and tell us a quick story about it. So what song would you like us to end with? And, obviously tell us a little story about it.
Well, let's go with Call Yourself a Friend. It's the only song on the record that lasts longer than 4 minutes, so I hope you guys have the patience, but it would be one of my favourites on there. It's a bit of a journey. It starts about as delicately as any of our songs have ever done in the past, and just builds and builds and builds, and you even get a little kind of explosion of folk-tinged rock at the end there, and it's a celebration of all things rock, so I hope you enjoy it.
Excellent. Well, let's check it out right now. This is Call Yourself a Friend from The Answer, right here on your Classic Metal Show.